everyone. A huge warm welcome to day 3 of 1% School. Today we're being led by the one, the only, Bill Murray, everybody. Let's give him a round of a digital applause. Bill is a mentor, he is a coach, he is a his mission is to democratize innovation. In the chat, let me know what you know about the word democratize. That means create many pathways and open up access to innovation for everyone. And Bill is coming to us with so much experience. He mentors and teaches teams of people that are tasked with solving problems, and is an absolute. I'll let him do the rest of the introduction. But he's a business coach and mentor, and somebody that I'm inspired by, and has led workshops in this field. And I can't wait to introduce you. But before, remember, please do put your hand up if you've got any comments or questions and any ideas that you want to share. Feel free to hit us with an emoji react anytime, right? There's no rules for that. If you're feeling the content is fire, give us a fire emoji. If you're feeling thoughtful, give us a brain or a thinking emoji, whatever it is. And off to you, Bill. Take us away with Invention 101. Really looking forward to it, and thank you so much for your time, Bill.
No problem. Thank you, Mohammed. And that innovation was well worth the $100 I paid you for it. So I appreciate all the kind words. As Mohammed was saying, please don't hesitate to either drop a question in the chat, or just turn yourself off mute and just ask a question. I love lots of questions. Let's have a conversation. I don't really want to talk to all of you. I'd like to have a conversation with all of you. I know at school, we have to listen to our teachers, and we have to sit there very quietly. That's not what I'm about. I'd love to hear what you're thinking about. And if I say something that reminds you of a situation that you had in your life, or either something that went well for you or a disappointment, would love for you to share it with the rest of the group, because when you share it with them, then they learn from your experience as well. And it's 10 times better than anything I'll ever say. So please jump in. This presentation will be much better with you than without you. In my day job, I work at big companies here in the United States to help them with innovation, to help their employees learn how to do innovation, if you will. That doesn't always give me as much excitement as I'm looking for. So in my spare time, I do stuff like this. I love talking with people about innovation, invention, about validating ideas, understanding customers and their needs. All that stuff is really makes me passionate. As you're thinking about what we're talking about here, think about what you're passionate about. Put it in the chat here. Would love to hear what gets you up in the morning, makes you jump out of bed and say, hey, let's have this day. So as Mohammed said, I'm in Wisconsin, which is in the north central part of the United States. So it's about 8:38 in the morning here, but it's a beautiful day. It's going to be 80 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's just lovely here. There's a lot of sun, so I turned my shade down here so you can actually see me. I'm not just a ball of light anymore. So, but let's jump into it. A couple of quick stories. I don't know if any of you ever had Legos. Those are those little plastic blocks. I think most people know what they are. I had a lot of them when I was young, and I still have them now. I still use them from time to time when I feel like it. But I think what's interesting is, would you decide what you're going to make out of Legos before you open up the box and see what kind of Legos are in it? Anybody? Does that sound like a good idea, to get your heart set on a particular design before you open the box? Where's the crickets one?
We've got 2 people that have raised their hands, so I'll just quickly let them. Yes, feel free to unmute Mario and let me know.
Yeah, what could happen if you decide on your design before you open the box and figure out what tools you have?
Well, doesn't it give you what you need to already make or design when they come out of the box? Instructions and such.
Well, when you open the box, you do figure out what's there. So when you open that box, that's that moment where you start to understand, well, what is it that I can make with this? So yeah, so not opening the box could be, could kind of set you up for disappointment. Anybody else? Somebody else had a comment? Was there somebody else? I'm new to the system here, so I don't know which person.
No worries. Yes. Let me just say it. So Muhammad says you won't know if you have those pieces if you don't.
Exactly. Exactly. And we're going to come back to that in a minute. Let me tell you another story here. That really wasn't much of a story. This is a better story. This is a story about two men named Steve. One of them loved to design computers, and the other one loved to design companies. The problem was one of them couldn't be successful without the other. But there was always a tension between them, to the point where one left and then the other left and then one came back and there was a lot of tumult. Well, this story is about Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, the two founders of Apple Computer. Steve Wozniak loved making computers, and in the garage he built computers and he was passionate about it, and that's what he knew best, and he was great at it. But what he wasn't great at is finding out how to sell them. He could build an entire garage full of computers, but not have any place to put them. No one to buy them, and then couldn't afford to build anymore because he was out of money. But once he met Steve Jobs, then he had the person that knew how to sell, knew how to build a brand, a company that people would look to for things that were innovative. And so the point of that story is that you can't just have an inventor. You can't have the person that likes to build things, because that person all by themselves might be building something that people don't want. Kind of like the story of the Legos. Steve Wozniak was building computers really without looking in the box. And the box is the consumer, the customer, the person who would buy a computer. He really didn't know what people wanted. He just knew that he wanted to build computers. Well, and Steve Jobs, though, on the other hand, he knew how to find out what people wanted, and he knew how to connect what Wozniak could build to what he could sell those people. And that's why it was such a successful partnership. And that's why every computer I used until 1992, this is almost 10 years, was an Apple computer. Even though there are plenty of other computers out there, that's the only one I ever used because that's the one that suited me best. And even today, my kids all have Apple computers. I'm stuck on Windows for now. I mean, probably permanently, but even they identify with the brand as it is today, and that still goes back to the hard work Steve Jobs did. So in this picture of tools here, this may be the group of tools that you think about when you think about invention. Well, actually, the most important tool invention is this one. It's a magnifying glass. So before you decide and set your heart on this thing that you want to build, open up the box of Legos first and understand what's there. Because if you want to build a spaceship, but there aren't any spaceship parts in the box, then you're going to have to build something else or build nothing at all. But the problem is nowadays, too many people build things that people don't want. I've done it myself. I spent a weekend one time building an app that I thought would be so much fun. And then I realized at the end of the weekend that my customer would never actually want it because he already had something similar. It was fun building, but then it was disappointing knowing that this thing that I poured my heart and my soul into would never see the light of day.
A quick comment from Ishal in the chat. So it's good to have an idea, but if you don't do anything with that idea, it's pointless. So you have to make sure to execute your ideas as well as thinking them through. I love that comment, Ishal. Brilliant.
Yeah, and that ties into my first bullet point here, is that innovation is the application of invention. Invention all by itself does not change the world. It's the application of the invention. And that's, again, where we've got Wozniak to Jobs. Wozniak invented, Jobs applied. And that's why those two things have to come together. But if Wozniak didn't build something that people wanted, Jobs could spend all day trying to sell it, but people would say, I don't want that. Why do you keep asking me if I want that? You sure don't know very much about me as your customer. So understand that invention is fun, but real innovation and really, really achieving something is being able to apply it. And being able to apply it, then, that takes a little bit more. So inventions by themselves are like keys without a lock. And the world is full of products people don't want. Great inventions emerge from well understood problems. And that's the key point here. If you can go out and understand a problem that you see in your world or your community, your family, whatever it is, you'll be able to invent much better because you understand that problem and you understand it in the context of that customer, of that person who's experiencing the problem. I'm not sure I can see all the questions, Mohammed. So if there's anything up, please just jump in.
Perfect.
I might get on a roll. So.
Yeah, please. I'll man the chat while you do your thing.
So it may be required to have Homer Simpson pictures in any in any PowerPoint. So here he is. But there's a great Simpsons episode where Homer decides he's going to be an inventor, and as you watch it, you realize right away that you can see that he's doing it wrong. You don't just sit down to decide to invent things. Instead, you want to be what the second picture is. Before he goes in and invents something, go out and watch the world, see what people are doing, see the problems that they're running into, talk with them, ask them about situations that are impacting them, ask them how they're trying to solve them now and how that's working. Because once you understand that, then you can go back and invent a lot better. So look, listen, and learn. Fall in love with problems. There's a great innovation guru talks about falling in love with problems instead of solutions. You may have an idea, but falling in love with that idea is the last thing you want to do. You can come back and fall in love with that idea later when you find out that someone actually wants it. But always ask why. Always ask, just hey, when you see something happening around you, why is that happening? How long has it been happening? When's the first time it happened? When doesn't it happen? You'll learn everything you can around the problems that you see. And then imagine. Ask yourself the question, how might we? And that's a question from design thinking, something I'll show you in a few slides from now. But it's how might we? Just open yourself up completely. How might we solve this problem for a customer? Oh, here it is right here. I guess there's in a couple of slides. So this is a design thinking framework. And design thinking is just a way of thinking that helps you design things, invent things, if you will, that match the needs of a customer, of someone who has a problem. This particular one is called the Kumar model of design thinking. It's the one that I like the best. I've made a few additions to it because I can't ever leave something all by itself alone. That's just my problem, not yours. But what he does, he takes you through sort of 4 squares. Here you see the blue squares, and you see the arrow that starts in the lower left and works its way to the lower right. And you work this way through it. And you go from concrete to abstract. You can see there on the y-axis. And you go from understanding to creating on the x-axis. And that's really important because if you're just out inventing, then you're creating first, and then you're understanding later. And this model here proves that that's probably the wrong way to go about it. Understand first, and then create something amazing. So these are the behaviors that we see, or that we want to engage in when we work this way. I'm going to just boil it down to the left 2 boxes here because that's really all we're talking about today. We're going to go from concrete, which is things that are real, things that we can learn about. And then we're going to go to the abstract. Abstract are things that are kind of new and harder to understand, and things that we have to put together and have to believe in first before we can find out if they actually are real. So in this framework here, we start with, they call sense intent. Really, it's just going out and looking around in your world. What is it that's going on? Why is it happening? Is it a problem? Who is a problem for? So then do your research. Find out where, when, how often this is happening. And keep in mind, not everything happening in the world is a problem. Sometimes the problem is that people want more of something that they love. And your job as an inventor is to get them something that helps them get more of that. So when I say problem, it isn't always something that's causing people a lot of pain, except the pain that I love this and I want more of it, help me get more. It could be, teaching young people. It could be, working in their community. The things that they're really passionate about, but they're trying to find new ways to do it, but they're having a hard time. So this is where they have a passion. You can actually help them get more of it. So I just want to focus on that. Not all problems are negative things. Sometimes they're just positive things that people can't get enough of. Know the people who are involved. And then frame insights. Frame insights means with your Legos, put together a new belief that you didn't have before you went out and learned. And those new beliefs are usually, because I saw this, this, and this, now I believe that this problem is happening because of this. So it's a new belief that you have because you went out and talked to people. So those are the behaviors. And then here, these are the tactics. And again, I'll just focus in on that left side. The tactics for number one are go out and observe. Go find people, figure out where people are that might have this problem, and just watch. And if you get a chance, talk with them. Observe the context, the context of the behaviors that you're seeing. People are having a problem because these things are happening. What other things are going on around them? Who are the other people? The other problems that maybe cause this problem? What are all those things around it? I talk about an ecosystem around a problem. Well, who are all the people and the places and the occurrences? What are all those things that contribute to it? Almost like a puzzle. What are all those pieces? And then segment people within that. Maybe people have pains that they're trying to solve for a pain. Maybe they have a passion. That was what I was talking about before. Maybe they just want to get more of something and they're having a hard time getting it. Maybe there's just a job they have to get done. They're not really a pain, not really a passion, but look, I need every Wednesday morning, the garbage cans have to get out to the street and I have to solve for that. It's not a pain. It's not a passion. It's just something that has to get done because I forget about it and then it becomes a pain. And then you bring all that together, everything that you learned, any other data that you can get from anywhere else, talk to other people who know about the problem, put it all together and build your insight. I believe this because of this. And then the cool thing is that then that's the thing that gives you your ticket to go out and invent. Einstein said, you probably know who Einstein is. He's pretty smart. If I had an hour to solve a problem, I'd spend 55 minutes thinking about the problem and 5 minutes thinking about solutions. So even Einstein does it the way that we're talking about now. He doesn't go out and try to solve it for 55 minutes and then try to understand it for 5 minutes. He spends 90% of his time understanding the problem, everything he needs to know about it. I love the brains. Those are great. I like this format. I got brains everywhere. It's kind of spooky. Instead of spending all that time solving for the wrong thing, he spends extra time understanding what the right thing might look like. And then he uses those insights to go and spend a small amount of time solving it. The world runs on insights. Data doesn't tell you a thing. And if people say the data told me to do this, they're either misspeaking or they're just plain wrong. Data doesn't tell you anything until you bring all kinds of data together and turn it into an insight, into a new belief. Data isn't beliefs. It's just data. It's numbers on a page. Insights are the why of the what. So data is the what, but insights are the why. This is happening, data, because insight. And when I work with, even with adults, sometimes they have a hard time understanding the difference between data and insights. But when they do, it changes how they work. And it's this huge epiphany for them, this huge moment of discovery. And they get really excited because once they get excited because insights are exciting. Hey, we have a new belief now that we didn't have before. And the great thing is that great insights are actionable. You can see there that next bullet point. I believe this because of this. So as a result, I will this. They lead you right to doing something. So I know you've been wanting to do something. Now is the time you can actually go out and try, because now you have a belief that you need to test. Just because you believe it doesn't mean it happened. Just because the data pointed at it doesn't mean it's real. Now we get that opportunity to build something to try. So here's your format. Format to frame insights, and you can you might want to jot this down if you're taking notes, or this will be obviously on YouTube, but you want this. Problem, you put the problem here, and I'm going to do a real example in just a second, but I'll just take you through the outline. Problem is happening to this person because surface cause, what it looks like, because root cause, what it really is, which results in emotions and impacts to the customer. I'll give you a second. Any reactions to that before I switch the page here and show you the real example? You can jump in too. You can get off your mic if you want. No problem. Just
Yeah, guys, feel free to unmute if you want.
Yeah.
And
You won't be interrupting me. Even if it feels like you're interrupting me, you're not. All right. I'm gonna show you the example here. I know that's bright red. That might hurt your eyes. I still have the example up in the upper corner. Let's talk about a company a lot of people know about, Airbnb. They allow people to put their house, their room, their vacation home up on the internet for rent, just like they were running a hotel. Well, Airbnb had very yeah, your comment?
yeah, feel free to unmute while we're
Jump in, please.
But the problem with Airbnb is that some people are putting hidden cameras around. So that would
Yeah. That's been a real problem for them. So that's a new problem that they're going to have to solve as a company. Say, okay, we've got some people that are that are doing things that are bad, that aren't treating their customers well. So they're gonna have to figure out how to do something about that. That's for sure. That's a great point. And the point is that once you solve a problem, it's not over with. You don't retire. You solve a problem, and then you might go for a little while, but then a new problem comes up. It's always you're never done. You're never done in innovation or invention. There's always another problem on the horizon, and it keeps you moving. But these are great problems to solve because they help people. But in Airbnb's case, it started very modestly in San Francisco, California, in the United States. These two fellows who lived in an apartment saw that every time there was a big conference in San Francisco, all the hotel rooms sold out, especially the ones that were close to the to the event, and people either couldn't go to the event because they couldn't stay close by and they wanted to, or they would have to stay very far away, and then they would lose a lot of the benefit of being close to the venue and be able to network with people and learn more and have more flexibility. So here's how they might have framed this using our problem statement. Prospective attendees of popular San Francisco area conferences are faced with limited options for accommodations. That's the problem. Because hotels sell out quickly. Surface cause, that's the kind of the obvious cause. Because attendees want to stay close to the conference venue and get the most out of the conference. That's the root cause, and that's the most important cause, because that's the opportunity. They want to stay close. They could stay 100 miles away and drive in 3 hours every day, but they don't want to do that. They want to stay close. So they want to stay close to the conference venue to get the most out of the conference. This leaves many prospective attendees disappointed and unwilling to attend, or forces them to book accommodations that are too far away to be able to fully experience and benefit from the conference. Now, with this statement, this insight, they can now do stuff. And there's going to be a test here in just a minute. So get ready. There's going to be a test, and I expect everyone to have some ideas. And there aren't any wrong ideas here, because all the ideas at this point are going to be things that we have to test. So when you think of ideas now that you've got this insight, I went out into the world, I looked, I listened, and now I have a new belief. You want to think in terms of solution spaces based on the insights. What sort of spaces, not specific solutions necessarily, but what kind of spaces, what sort of types of things might help solve the problem that you have observed? What is that me? Willow's at the door. Okay. I thought that was my what solution spaces emerged from the Airbnb example? So with that, going back again to this insight statement, understanding that people want to stay close, or they want to stay somewhere that makes them feel close. At least they want to get that closeness to the event. So think in terms of concepts. Ask this question to help you, because I don't want you to be super specific. I want you to be kind of go wide here. So more or less of what resources might help people that are having this problem. So think like a resource. Don't think a specific thing that you would build for them. This isn't like build a rocket, a rocket that'll take them for where they are to know. Don't think in terms of rockets. Think in terms of what does a rocket do for someone. So what are the things that might be helpful? Go ahead and jump in. Just jump in, type something in. This is the test. But everyone's get a passing grade, so it's okay.
Yeah, I got quite a few people typing in. Amazing. So,
And I don't know
somebody's
if
got
you,
their unmuted their mic. Feel free to jump
yeah,
in.
please speak up. What would be a resource that more or less of it would help someone in San Francisco, if they're coming to San Francisco for one of these meetings and they want to stay close by, or they want to feel like they're close at least?
No wrong answer, by the way, guys. Right?
Nope.
Remember,
Nope.
more houses. Ishaq is saying more houses.
There you go. Yeah, we could build some more accommodations nearby. We could build more. Absolutely. Yep. And I like that because that's just places to stay. It's not specific. You didn't say what kind of thing we should build, but we should build something that that people can stay in. So that's exactly what I'm looking for.
Oh wow, we've got more. It looks like team flow is about to happen again. We've got build more hotels. We've got camps near the venue,
There you go.
underground
Camping. Yeah.
spaces, tents,
Underground. Yes. Let's
more
go underground.
transport,
More
bedroom.
transportation. Yes, more transportation. That's a really good one because, again, that's very general. We could transport people on a bus, on a train, in a rocket. We could drop them out of a balloon. We could do all kinds of things. So that's how you want to be thinking. Transportation. That's a solution space. That's great. What else we got? Sorry.
All right, yeah, I love this underground spaces, like under the ground.
Yeah, if above ground is full, well, the only place to go is either in the sky or under the ground. And I think under the ground is probably cheaper.
Oh, Yasser mentioned a mini resident van. So turning things into accommodation. That's amazing. Turning vans.
Yeah, especially a lot of these conferences in San Francisco are relatively young people, and they don't mind sleeping in a car. Somebody my age doesn't like sleeping in a car, but a lot of young people, they don't care. I just need a place to sleep, that's safe. Well, a car, that's fantastic.
More hotels as well, motels, hotels. More routes to the conference. Wow, interesting, Ishal. More routes to the conference venue, so more people can get where they want to faster in case of traffic.
That's fantastic. That is a great solution space. Routes. Routes could be anything. It could be a number of things. So that's a great place for you to start. That's great. I love it. Yeah, all right, I'm going to share. I'm going to share the
school bus.
answers.
We got more coming in. Coming in. Bills, a school bus, a room with multiple beds. So specifically talking about multiple.
A school bus. You could put about 50 people probably in a school bus. It might kind of smell after a couple of days, but again, some of these people that go to these conferences really don't care about odors. So that's all right.
Shared accommodation.
Shared accommodations. Yeah. And so that one there, that's the one the Airbnb did. So they put an advertisement in the paper that said, hey, we've got 3 places for you to sleep in our apartment. And the reason it's called Airbnb, because it was an air bed. They blew up a bed, a plastic bed. They blew it up and they put it on their floor. And that's where the people slept. But they tested that idea right away. And they found that 3 strangers came and lived with them, even for 3 days, even though they didn't know them. They were that desperate for a place to stay near the event that they came and stayed with a stranger, even though that it could be very dangerous for them. So I think most of you have gotten some of these answers here. So transportation, that's a solution space. We heard a lot of that. Fantastic. Accommodations, we heard that too. Accommodations underground, accommodations in a car, accommodations, sharing places. Alternate meeting options. Maybe we have a meeting in a different way or a different place. Stop having it in San Francisco. Have it someplace where it's easier to stay. In fact, one of the meetings I used to go to in San Francisco stopped having it in San Francisco because it was just too hard to get enough people there. Connections and networking. What if we turned the school bus that we're having people living in? What if we just took that school bus outside of town and picked people up at a distant hotel and allowed them to have a networking meeting in the school bus on the way to the conference in the morning? They would feel just as good probably as they felt at the conference because they would still get that networking. More meetings or locations, have them all over the place. You allow people to go, and that's that different routes. A way to do different routes is, well, we can't do new routes, but we have existing routes. We can just take those routes to other places. So that's fantastic. And then concierge. Concierge concept is a big one in innovation and in invention, where your invention is basically existing things on a platter. It's that person at the hotel that says, sir, can I take your luggage? Can I help you find a restaurant? That's a concierge. So, be a concierge. Here you go. Here's everything you want out of the conference on a platter. Do you want to buy it? So this is how we go through, and now we can invent so much better because we understand our customers so much. And look at the ideas you had. They were really good inventions, potential inventions, because you understood the problem. If you didn't understand the problem or just trying to invent, you could guess all kinds of things, but it would probably miss the mark with your customer. And it'd be disappointing to you because you felt so good about it, but then your customer said no. So that's the fun part. Now, the part that's less fun is keep track of what you're doing. Document your process. Don't just do this, by the seat of your pants, if you will. You want to go out there, you want to take notes. You want to have a process. This is my process. I start with observations. That was in the design thinking model, in the Kumar model. We start observing things. Then I take those observations and I weave them into insights, new beliefs. That was in the upper left-hand corner of the Kumar model. Then I start thinking about opportunity spaces. That's actually in the upper right. And that's what we just did together. And you did a really great job of it. So you already know that you can do this. As long as you can talk with people and understand things, get insights, now you know that you can come up with those opportunity spaces. The last two here are things that actually Simon is on tomorrow, I think, Mohammed, right? Is he on tomorrow? Simon Crispin from the UK is on tomorrow. Good friend of mine, someone I admire very, very much. He'll be talking about kind of the back end of this is, okay, you've got your invention. Now, how do we figure out if customers really do want it? And that's going to be in these second two here that I've grayed out. RAs, that's risky assumptions. What is it that my customer has to be willing to do to get value from the thing that I did invent? And then EXP stands for experiments. How do I then behaviorally experiment with my customer? How do I show them the thing or some version of the thing that I invented in a way that gives them an opportunity to say yes or no? So that's the other half of it, but I'll leave that for Simon because he'll do a great job of it. But put this up on your wall, use sticky notes, and document your process. This is the simplest way you can do it, but you always want to have something because you want to go back and say, what is that thing I learned again? What is that thing that person said? Keep track of everything. Take really great notes. So what happens next? Now that you observed a problem, you developed a new set of beliefs. Those are your insights. And you hatched a number of ideas. We got those opportunity spaces now. Some of them are a little more specific. Some of them are more general. And we're going to go a little bit deeper and get specific. It's time to move into that validation stage. And as I said, Simon will help you take that and help you test your ideas with real people and learn if it really does solve a problem and solve a problem enough that they'll pay for it. And the important thing to remember is paying for it isn't always money. We talk about currency and innovation. It could be money, but they might have to pay for it in time. They might have to take time to use your invention. They might have to put their reputation at risk. They might have to refer someone or bring somebody else in. So just remember that when you are trying to evaluate whether somebody likes what you have or not, look for what that currency is. What is it that they're giving up to get what you give them? But again, I don't want to go too much into Simon's thing. And that's how to get a hold of me. Please don't hesitate to reach out. I would love to hear your story and hear what you're passionate about. But now we still have plenty of time to talk some more. Thank you so much for those of you that jumped in. Was that the horn?
That's amazing. No, just a huge shout out. Thank you. A huge thank you to Bill for taking us through. Yes, so a few questions have come in. Is it okay if you have more than one thought or idea about the problem? Bill, what's your thoughts about that? We've got loads teeming with ideas and thoughts.
Oh, great! So are you saying that you have multiple insights, or that you have maybe some competing insights? One, I believe this, but I also believe it could be this, but I believe it could be this. So that's great. That's great. One thing you might want to do is go back and just talk to a few more people and make sure that you didn't mishear something, or go back and talk to people and find out, hey, maybe I've got two groups of customers here. I got one group that feels this way and I've got one group that feels this way. So you'll want to deal with them separately. You don't ever build a product for everyone. your first product you build for a very small group of people that you understand really, really well. Because if you can't build for 5 people or for 1 person, you can't build for 1 million people. And that's a fact. And when you talk to 1 people or 5 people or 10 people, you can learn so much about them and what's important to them that you can build something very, very good for them. So double check to make sure that you didn't miss something. Check that you might not have 2 different competing, types of people, and then work on them separately. Or if it still feels like, I might have 2 kind of separate insights here, then test them both. Test the one. What are the opportunity spaces around this insight? And then the other one. What are the opportunity spaces around this one? And then test those opportunity spaces as specific products with those customers that told you that they feel that way. And then find out if it was really true or if they were just saying it was true. Now, remember, people aren't going to lie to you, but they might tell you that something is important to them or that they'll do something when in fact they really won't. And that's called the say-do gap. And it's really important to understand that people will tell you one thing, but they'll do something else. And again, it's not because they're bad people or that they're liars. Sometimes they just don't want to hurt your feelings. Other times they honestly feel like they would do that. But when it gets down to actually trading that thing of value, the money or the time or whatever it is to get your invention, they're not willing to do it. So that's why we do real small experiments with what you build. If they won't pay for it, then we won't build any more of it. We'll try something else. We'll go to a different insight. Great question, though. Thank you very much. That happens a lot.
Really, really good question. There's another question that we've
Great
got
question.
from Muawiyah before Ishal jumps in. And I love this. It's almost talking about, prioritization and stuff. So Muawiyah asks, but there are many problems. How can you decide which should be your highest priority? I love that.
Great question, and it's a great problem to have, that you've got too many problems. So what you can do is again, just to be a little logical about it, is take these emotional things like problems and put them all down on a piece of paper, and come up with a way to evaluate them. This is called a prioritization matrix. You can call this, where you've got the problems on one side, and then across the top on the x-axis, you've got the different things that matter. So on that axis, you can say, number of people this is impacting, how deep the problem is for the people that have it, how motivated you are to solve it. Okay, that might be the most important one. But then you can score these 1, 2, 3, or 1, 3, and 5, and then you add up all the scores. You say which one won, and you can either go with that one, or you can say, well, this one didn't score the best, but it scored pretty high, and I think I'm the most passionate about this, so I'll start here. And then you've got your backlog of other ideas, though. So when you work on that problem for a while and it either works out or it doesn't, you can go back to your list and say, okay, what's the next one? So that's a great way of prioritizing. Oh boy, I can't talk this morning. Prioritizing competing interests.
Really brilliant. I just wanted to share one framework that I use. It's called the ICE framework, ICE. So it's like impact. How impactful was it 1 to 5? Rate this problem in terms of how impactful it is, or how much, rather, put 1 to 5 on impact, 1 to 5 in your confidence, how confident that you are that you can work on this. Ease, right? The ease of solving this, how easy it is for you. But then I love what Bill mentioned there in terms of how deep this problem is. How deep is it? How much is it hurting people? How much is it of a pain, or how much is it of something that needs to be addressed?
That's a great model. So yeah, I mean, and that's that's that emotional part. And keep in mind that as you're out in the world inventing, don't invent logical solutions to emotional problems. Really, really important. If someone has an emotional, they're having a problem that's very emotional for them, don't hand them something that in your mind they should want because it makes sense. When someone has a lot of emotions going, they're not thinking logically. You need to give them an emotional solution to an emotional problem. So emotions are really important here, and that emotion that people are having, that's an important part of prioritizing the problems that you see, because the more emotional the problem is, the more you'll be able to learn about it, because people will want to talk to you about it, and the easier it'll be to create a solution, because you'll be able to create an emotional solution that people will want to rip out of your hands and take. That's what I've been waiting for. Thank you so much for solving my deep problem.
Okay, I think Ishal had their hand up. Feel free to unmute, and yeah. Let us know your thoughts.
My question was, if you feel your issue is much more ethical and like you've talked to people and there's like a 50-50 split between what they think, how do you go about it in like a professional way?
Tell me a little bit more. So you're talking to people and some are saying one thing and some are saying another thing, or help me out.
Like, I don't have a specific example, but like if it's a much more like ethical issue, like it's like there's a 50-50 split between it, and you don't know whether to go for one or for the other, because if you go for one, then some people will think you're doing something very unethical, but it's the same for the other way. Then how do you go about that?
That's a really interesting question. So, and what you're describing there is a little bit like a two-sided problem. For instance, with Airbnb, didn't have one customer, they had two. They had people that had properties that they wanted to rent out, and they had people that wanted to stay in properties that people were renting out. And so as they worked, they had to work with both sides and do experiments with both sides and bring them a little bit closer until they brought them together at the top. They had to test various things, what they'd be willing to do to bring them closer and closer together, because that's their business, was bringing those two groups of people together in a safe way. So what you're talking about is a little bit like that. And you've got some people that believe that something is okay, and you've got some people that believe that something isn't okay. You're going to need to understand both sides of it as you're trying to solve the problem for one of them, because you're going to need that other side to at least tolerate your solution or potentially even support you in some way, even though they may not consume that solution. So that's a very complex problem, because you don't want to be, as the innovator, you don't want to be on the wrong side of anything. You want to be on the side of helping people. And if you help people, but other people feel like you're hurting them as a result, then you're not doing that thing that you want to do, that you're passionate about. So understanding both sides and understanding what is the common ground between them, that might be where your innovation lays. If you do run into such a thing, I'd love to hear about it, because these sort of things don't happen a lot, but I can think in my mind of a few, not that I want to discuss right here, but I can think of some problems like that would be very difficult unless you made sure both sides were at the table. Really great question.
Yeah, super question. Oh my god, that's a really, really good one. Let me just give you a little. No,
Yeah.
not that. I got the wrong. There you
Yeah.
go. There you go.
Yeah,
There you go. That was a dope
not the
one.
rim
Well
shot,
done,
yeah.
Michelle.
And I'll
Well
give you the analog thumbs up.
done. Brilliant. Any
The
other
brain.
questions? Any other questions? Feel free to unmute.
Yeah, we still got a little bit of time. Is there anyone who's currently trying to solve a problem, or has tried to solve a problem in the past, and you're running into either some roadblocks, some disappointment, or you had some success, that you'd like to share with the group, and and how you got there, or what was keeping you from being successful? This sort of stuff would really help the other people in the group, because it would help them see other people like themselves having challenges or having successes in areas that they're trying to achieve in.
Perfect. I'm going to give you the mic, but if you could come a bit closer to the mic so we can hear you clearly. Okay, I'm going to give you the mic now.
Okay. So I haven't really been making a solution to things, but I've been like trying to think of some things, and it's basically like how we could kind of stop economic recessions that we're kind of going through in the UK right now. And there's basically been no solution so far.
So, say a little bit slowly. So you got a solution to the economic situation in the UK. Yeah. Okay.
I've been trying to find solutions for it, but there's basically been nothing. So how would I be able to find something?
Well, so again, it all starts with understanding. So understanding the surface causes and the root causes, and instead of trying to solve the problem, the economic problem for the UK, try to see if you can solve the problem, an economic problem in a household or in a neighborhood, or a single business. Look at those problems, understand how to solve those, and then you can work your way up. This is a little bit like the thing I said before. It's like, if you can't solve the problem for one person, or five people, you won't be able to solve it for a million. So take your passion around solving economic problems and find one person or five people that are having a problem, and really understand that well, and then build something to help solve that problem, to show that you understand it. Then you can start working your way up, because now you've got the knowledge, you've got the credibility, to say, look, if it worked here, it can work over here, and then it can work here, and then it can get bigger as it works in so many places. But you have to start small. And I understand where you're coming from. Sometimes you want to take this problem, I just want to solve it, solve world peace or solve world hunger. But the way to solve world peace or world hunger is to create peace and to solve hunger in your own community first, so that you understand how it works, and then scale it up, as they say in business. Go from small scale to big scale.
Yes.
But I love your attitude. I love your attitude, though. It's great. Just focus it, and I think you'll be a lot happier with your work.
As we say, Maria, think globally, but act locally, right?
Yeah.
Think big, but then always start small. Start with a niche. Start with a really small problem that you can solve. There's also a thing called the weakest brick analogy, right? Think of your problem that you want to solve like a big wall, and you're just sorting out one brick of that entire wall. What's that brick that you can crack, or what's that brick that you can pull out? And then hopefully over time, each one of us will take a brick, and that entire problem will be solved. So Muhammad has a comment, and then we'll go to Ishaq as well.
So I've been I've done some competitions before, where you think of they give you some problems that are around the world, and then you create a website or something like that, and then you can show it, you present it. I've won some of it before, I won one where it's end global hunger. So but then the thing is, if I try and do it in my community, it might look a bit weird, and sometimes I just feel scared doing it, because sometimes I think it might not work, or I might look not, it might not help, it might not do a lot though. So I don't know what to do.
So are you talking about scaling up some of these ideas that you've had?
Yeah, because
yeah. So scaling becomes its own scaling, going from 1 to 10 to 100 to 1,000. That's its own type of innovation and invention, because the thing you built for one person or for 10 people won't work necessarily for 100 or 1,000 or 1,000,000. So then it's a new set of questions that you're asking. It's like, okay, this worked for a small number of people. Why did it work? All right. Well, and then why won't it work for such a big group of people? Well, because it's just me. I can do this for 10 people, but I can't do this by myself for 1,000 people. So then you start asking yourself questions. Well, what could take the place? How can I automate me in the process? So then you start thinking about other opportunities like AI, or automating processes in some way. So those become the questions as you take, hey, I had success here. I want to have success with a greater group of people. How do I do that? Well, I start examining how I'm going to have to go about that, because it won't be the same way with a small group of people. So you're already thinking the right way. So you take your solution, you put it there, but then you say, okay, how do I map these things? How do I create these things that were in my small solution to a bigger one? And then you start testing those things. Hey, it was successful because I talked to these people individually every week. Well, I can't do that. What can I do instead? Could I send them an email? Okay, we'll test that. Could I have a video every week that they could look at, and it'd be just like they're talking to me? Could you test that? So that's the way you go from small scale things to big scale things. It's hard, and you got to get help. It can't be just you anymore. That's when you need other people helping you.
What a brilliant answer. I think you've also answered another question in the chat, which was, how do you specifically go about scaling anything? One thing I wanted to add to what was already mentioned for Muhammad is the fact that you're as an entrepreneur, as an innovator, as an inventor, you are taking the unconventional path. Okay, you are the 1% school. You are doing something different to everyone else. So don't expect everyone around you to understand what you're doing or support you. Sometimes people don't, people didn't support Leonardo da Vinci. People didn't support Einstein. There were a lot of people that didn't like what some of the best entrepreneurs and innovators have done. So always don't think too much about what will they say. Just think about what are you building right now? What are you doing right now? And hopefully you'll have a huge impact that way. We will never change things if we are with the status quo. Okay. So that's a really, really good. And Isak, did you have a follow-up question? Feel free to unmute yourselves, or if Phil wants to mention anything, then feel free to.
Yeah, I mean, one extra story about that is that in the United States, some of you might be familiar with Kentucky Fried Chicken. They're all over the world. KFC, they call it now. It used to be Kentucky Fried Chicken. Well, Colonel Harlan Sanders, when he turned 65 years old, cashed his first government Social Security check, retirement check, and he hit the road with his idea at 65 years old. And he drove from Kentucky, the United States, over 1,000 miles and stopped at every restaurant that he saw, trying to sell his idea about how to cook chicken. He got over 1,000 no's until he got to Utah, another state in the United States, over 1,000 miles later, and someone said, "Sure, I'll try it." So don't stop just because one person doesn't support you. If you know you have a good idea because you've seen the value that it brings people, don't stop because someone else doesn't like it. There's lots of people in the world that'll tell you no. It's up to you to find the people that say yes, because those are the people that will help you. And he was 65 years old. That's older than me.
It's amazing. That is incredible. Really, really inspirational stuff. You don't force yourself down a timeline. Be curious, as we did in our first and second sessions. Curiosity is the key, and incredible stuff. Thank you so very much to our workshop leader, our facilitator extraordinaire. Thank you again for everybody. Your participation, your energy has been phenomenal. Thank you so much. And I'm sure this is a session that needs to be played back. Are there anybody wants to say anything else? I heard a few mics. If not, I'm going to end